The streets are talking. You are now listening to The Box Out, tri-state area basketball talk at its best. And now your hosts, Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK and the world, this is The Box Out on this Thursday, April 8th. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Jason Cordner joining me in just a few short moments. And we have to start, obviously, with the NCAA tournaments, about the men and the women, as I bring in Jason Cordner to the party. What's going on, brother?
Not much. How you feeling?
Feeling good. So my wife went away for a long weekend with her girlfriends, and they got a house, and they're together, they're all quarantined and everything. So I'm left here by myself and my daughter, and I'm literally got the monitor next to me, just keep an eye out, just making sure. It's crazy already. It's been like 4 hours. I'm like, yo, how do you do it?
You're gonna find out this weekend.
I know. We're trying to have fun. Take her outside and do stuff. I got a basketball. Get her into that too. So we texted on Saturday night after the Gonzaga game.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think you and I had the same thought. Gonzaga really wasn't tested throughout, forget the tournament, the whole year.
Right.
They got tested against UCLA. Now, we were thinking that would help them in the championship game against Baylor. My father, who was popping hella junk on text, was like, nope, they're done. They're overhyped. It's all hype. Baylor got them, blah, 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 blah. Baylor beat the brakes off of Gonzaga on Monday, 86-70. 16-point win. It was not that close. 16 was generous. What are your thoughts on Gonzaga? And were they overhyped this entire season and tournament?
I don't want to say they were overhyped, maybe overvalued. And no one really not playing in a steady conference, it came back to bite them. So because of that, we didn't really know what to think of them. And they pretty much did cruise up until the Final Four. And that happens to the best of the teams. But the way UCLA exposed them, I thought, like we said, that was going to be a wake-up call. But Baylor, I forgot who wrote it, but Baylor definitely was working out with the football team. Those guys were just bodying them and just beating them in the post, and they had no response. And it took them out of the finesse game, and that was it. They were never in the game.
Yeah, you saw, I think Timmy was the guy, number 2 from Gonzaga. Played really well against UCLA. He played okay against Baylor, but they were muscling him up the way they don't get muscled up like that in the West Coast Conference against, St. Mary's and Pepperdine. Right. They're not used to that. In the Big 12, as much as I talk a lot of shit about the Big 12 football and basketball, because I feel like it's a soft league. Football, they just throw the ball and each team throws for 600 yards. Basketball, Kansas dominated the league for like 20 years until like this year. But I think maybe that it's not a big conference. They got like 10 teams in it. They just beat each other up. And I feel like for Baylor, they kind of needed that, especially they lost a lot of games early because of COVID. And I think they missed like 3 or 4 games, including a game against Gonzaga that was supposed to be actually in Annapolis early this season. So this is the game that got canceled. And I feel like maybe their conferences, and you said it, the conference play definitely might have played a role in this.
Can you imagine had Gonzaga played them earlier, they would have got a feel for them? What kind of different game this could have been?
I think it would have been a lot different game.
Yeah.
I think a lot different. I also feel like with Gonzaga, that UCLA game probably took a lot out of them. And I feel like when UCLA went up 9-0, that was it. The game was done at that point. So I feel like UCLA took it out of them. But credit to UCLA too. An 11 seed getting to the Final Four, Mick Cronin got a contract extension today. That team, and they're a young team. I didn't realize how young they were and how many underclassmen they have. This is the team that I think you can kind of, I would say, pencil in maybe to the Final Four next year.
I think so too. I think that whole conference is going to get a little bit more respect next year because I think USC is going to have something to say as well.
So it's great. Congratulations to Baylor. And especially Baylor too. There was a documentary on Showtime about the whole Brian Dennehy thing at Baylor and how the coach Dave Bliss was, wanted to make Dennehy look like a drug dealer, but he was killed by his teammate. And Scott Drew took over in the aftermath of that whole debacle. So to see where they were in 2003, which was like this scarred program, and to see where they were almost 20 years later, I compare it to when I think the team in Texas, SMU, got the death penalty. Yeah. It took them 20 years to get to a bowl game. I think that whole scandal in Baylor, it took them 20 years to kind of get back to some relevance in basketball.
But now they're here. So now they're going to make some noise.
And not just be a school where, that kid got shot randomly. And there's a Showtime documentary about it. In the women's Final Four, and I want to talk about, first of all, two African-American coaches, Adia Barnes and Dawn Staley, shout out to them. Stanford ended up beating Arizona in the final. But first and foremost, Arizona, good showing from them. And I told my mom this. My mom didn't really know too much about this, how you had two strong Black women coaches in the Final Four. And I think in any Final Four, I'm not sure if this in the men we've had two. I think this is the first time we had two African-American coaches in the Final Four. So that's a really big statement, possibly for African-American coaches getting more opportunities in both men and women's sports.
I think so. It definitely shows that they know how to coach, and it just shows how much we've come a long way in terms of just like women coaches being respected, especially in the women's side where, you feel like the UConns and the Tennessees is always them. So now we got some new blood in Arizona, Stanford coming through. So I feel like everything's pointing in the right direction.
So Stanford 54-53 over Arizona. In your view, and I'm not going to pretend like I watched every single game of both tournaments. I was in and out. I feel like I watched a lot more of the women because those games weren't really going head to head. Did it seem like the women's tournament was more exciting and more just a lot going on than the actual men's tournament? Did I get that feeling?
I want to say yes, except for that phenomenal UCLA Gonzaga game. Other than that, it would have been a clean sweep for the women's side. They're all the games competitive. They were very well played. I appreciated this tournament more so than more in the past. That the women's tournament really did hold its own, and I think the ratings reflect that as well. No,
they did good. So, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about last week about. Listen, there was a whole big thing about how the women's tournament is underfunded, like significantly. We say $14 million. Oh, it's $14 million. That's underfunded in the grand scheme of it all. Do you think the ratings, the excitement, people actually being on board and really being hyped up for these games, do you think this is the time the NCAA is like, we're going to make this investment into the women's game now? This is the time to do it. We got to do it.
Be the time. It has to be the time. And speaking about investments, I just want to give a shout out to the WNBA who capitalized pretty well on the NCAA's tournament and unveiling their new uniforms today to much fanfare over them.
Yeah, I'll talk about that later. Let's talk about that now. Those jerseys are fire. Like I was like, the Liberty, the Equality one. That one, that's obviously my favorite one because I'm a Liberty fan. But it's like they got a new logo. I feel like there's this momentum from the WNBA that I think you see in college sports and you see in WNBA. You're starting to see it now. People are like, okay, let's give them a shot now. It's their time now.
Yep, they definitely go all in for the 25th anniversary season, which I am extremely happy for. And I believe, is the draft next Wednesday or Thursday?
It is. I have it up here. April 15th, so next Thursday. So we'll be on. We'll be on next Thursday for the draft. So we can actually before we get to the draft, I'll have the mock drafts for both the men and the women because it's always curious to see kind of the stock of these guys. After a turn like this. Joe Keating chimes in. He likes the Fevers WNBA jersey.
Fevers jersey's hot too. It's hot
too. Those are good too. Listen, I might buy one this year. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm with you.
I buy me a Sabrina Ionescu jersey. I'm down for that. I'll be that dude. Before we get to the drafts, we got to talk about Draymond Green, and I think I tweeted it on our Twitter feed. About a month and a half ago, he made such a good statement about how's the double standard with players and owners and teams. I'm like, oh, Draymond got it down. My guy. And then he comes and just messes it all up. So here we're gonna play what Draymond Green said, and then we're gonna play the reaction from Shanae Agumake on First Take today. So here's what Draymond said. And you only heard the clip of like he was tired of hearing. There's a little bit more to it. Doesn't really help it, but there's a little bit more to it. So let's hear what Draymond said.
I've seen so many complaints as of recent of women talking about the pay gap in between what we make and what they make. And I feel where they're coming from. Like, I know what I put in to this to be great. They put the same time in that we put in. So I understand what they're saying. But I'm also, and I was hoping people didn't take it the wrong way. Obviously, some people did, whatever. If you can't read what I said and understand, that's your personal business. But, I'm really tired of seeing them complain about the lack of pay because they're doing themselves a disservice by just complaining, and
right. They're not just complaining.
Huh?
They're not just complaining, really.
But they are, because they're not laying out steps that they can take to change that. And so it's coming off as a complaint because the people that can change it, they're just going to continue to say, well, the revenue isn't there. The revenue isn't there. So if you don't bring in the revenue, we can't up your pay. They're going to keep using that. But the reality is, as true as that is, it's an excuse because everyone says we support women. We support women empowerment. We support women in the workplace. We do this for women. We do X for women, blah, blah, blah. And everyone uses it to their advantage. Yet these women are not using these people that are saying those very things to their advantage. So then it just becomes a complaint that falls on deaf ears because they're going to use the same excuse of the revenue isn't there. Well, how about all of these people that are running these big time companies with these huge marketing dollars, these huge marketing budgets, put that money towards telling the story of Diana Taurasi. Like I said on Twitter, we know the story of LeBron James. We've heard it a million times. Do you think those stories don't help the connection between a fan and understanding that player? It does, but no one puts the money towards the marketing of women.
So the whole statement made sense. They took the clip of "I'm tired of hearing him complain." So I'm gonna get that out first because context. Eric Bischoff says this all the time. Context is king. So I want to hit that first. Now I'm going to play a reaction from Chiney Agumake on First Take today. Which, first of all, before we play this clip, it was a new setup. It was 3 women doing First Take, which was a blessed change from watching First Take because I've grown tired of watching Stephen A. and Max. I'd rather slam my penis in a steel door at this point than see them two talk anymore. So it was a great change. But here's what Janae had to say about Draymond Green's statement.
The only worst thing about being wrong is being loud and wrong. I think Brandon Marshall is sort of learning that right now. The meme.
Hey,
right?
Brandon.
Accurate. But I've known. Hey, Brandon. It's all good, Brandon. You gave us a great meme, Brandon. Thank you. Now, I've known Draymond Green for a while. We both played on the World University Games team together for Team USA back when we were in college, which makes this all the more difficult because Day-Day, I mean, he's been on the show with us. He has the right relationships. He has the right people to look to really get answers. So let's set this straight. WNBA players would absolutely love more money, of course, but we understand the economic realities of our league. But, complaints from WNBA players, that's not happening anymore. Do you know why? Well, I've got the answer. I am vice president of the WNBPA, an amazing players association. And in 2020, we ratified a new CBA that addressed our players' concerns. Obviously, salary. For the first time, we have average salaries in 6 figures, which is amazing. That CBA was not just a win for women's hoopers. It was a win for women in the workplace, period. Widely celebrated. More increase in salaries, full paid maternity leave, mental health resources, you name it, we got it. And there's a reason why there's a saying that women have to work twice as hard to get half as far. Mm-hmm. And if you think that women are not doing the work right now to get our stories told, then you are wildly misinformed. anyone that supports our game is a real one because they do so with the expectation that they will not get the credit. The women have been, putting in the work and trying to tell their stories, but until we have equity in the rooms that matter most, equity there where representation is there so that our stories actually have enough proximity where people can relate to, then it's going to be hard. And we've been fighting this uphill battle for so long, which is why, I think he really cares and he comes from a place of passion. But the hardest thing is realizing that the platform that you say, it's like use your platform to empower us, not to say I'm not going to speak on Women's History Month. No, use your platform to amplify those who have solutions instead of just preaching what the problems continue to be. And by the way, those problems are outdated because if anyone watched the women's tournament, we are moving in a whole different direction.
So at the end of the day, Draymond Green put his foot in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what he was saying, but the fact that he's saying, well, they don't have a plan. I'm like, have you been paying attention? I just feel like it was a real bad look from him making that statement.
Yeah, I can understand if he said that and they really didn't have a plan, but all they've been doing for the last year or so has been putting out a plan. So, and the sad part is what Draymond said is what the average fan thinks. Not even the average fan, the casual fan who doesn't really follow women's sports is probably thinking the same way Draymond is like, hey, these women are just complaining, just making noise, even though they're getting paid. They have no idea how much they're getting paid. They have no idea of me and you, we've made reference to all the years where the chartered buses and they don't have like chartered flights to other teams, and they go to other arenas. So there's been a lot of struggle. They've been trying to get in terms where it seems like it's finally turning a corner. So the last thing you need is somebody in the NBA to take shots at them.
And we talk a lot about how we talk about equity a lot when you talk about players and owners and how the players really have a voice, and we talk about having a platform, right? In this case, Draymond has a platform, right? He's talking from a place of privilege, which is weird to say for a black man in America. He's talking from a place of privilege, and he's using that privilege to kill them right now. And I liked how I think Kara Burke was the interviewer. She's worked for SNY. Now she works out on West Coast for the Warriors. She's like, they don't only complain. Someone needs to kind of come and check him. Like, look, hold on a second.
She did it quick too.
Yeah, because I feel like it was like he said it, and I feel like, wait, what? Like when I heard it, I was like, what? Because that's all you were getting until you got the whole context. But that's your sister league, right? That's the league that you should be repping. You see so many players repping them. Kobe was big on them. I know John Wall, Bradley Beal. Those guys are big on WNBA and really want to get the name out and get the league going to where they're making money, where they don't need the NBA as much to kind of pour this money in. But meanwhile, you got players in the league, and I have a really good friend who literally shits on women's basketball every time we talk. He has a daughter. I got a daughter. I'm like, yo, you got a girl. Like, if anyone should be like pro women's sports, it should be you now. Absolutely. Because you want her to play. Like, if you play, you don't want you being the person at the game. Like, I'm watch this. He sent me a video of someone on TikTok, and I think it was a tournament game of a player missing a wide open layup. I'm like, all right. So men don't miss wide open layups?
Happens all the time.
What? Yeah, not like that. So I literally went on YouTube and clicked in NBA missed layups and got like 800 videos and sent it to him. He's like, oh, who was it? Anthony Bennett? I'm like, no, it's Dwayne Wade missing a wide open layup. So it happens in both leagues. Doesn't really matter.
Right.
So they have to fight that fan, and then they have to fight their colleagues in their brother league. It's like they can't win right now. It's embarrassing.
Sad situation. But like I said, they're getting better. They're getting the traction. People are starting to watch the product. The product has gotten a lot better. These women are world-class athletes and should be respected and treated as such.
I agree with you. Now, talking about world-class athletes, talking about the WNBA mock draft that came out for the draft next Thursday, we'll be on, so we'll be covering it.
We'll be covering the Dallas draft, because Dallas has, what, like 5 picks?
They got the first 2 picks. The first 2 picks they got. I'm like, okay. That's going to be crazy. We got Urban Fox Gamer chiming in. We're going to talk about the Knicks in a second. Knicks should get Andre Robinson. Thoughts on that one?
You know what? I'm cool on that. I don't think they need him. I don't think they need him.
There's a whole lot of issues with the Knicks. We'll get to the Knicks after we do the mocks because there's some things we gotta unpack the Knicks the last 4 or 5 days of the Knicks. So we're gonna get to the Knicks in a second. Urban Fox gamers, so keep listening. Ari McDonald from Arizona, I think her tournament, her stock went up to the point where she's projected to be the fifth pick to Dallas. So Dallas has 1, 2, and 5. She's projected to go 5. Right now, and I know you covered Rutgers for a hot minute. Ariella Grades, she's projected to go 3rd to the Dream. So that will be really cool to see a Rutgers player, which, Cabby Poindexter. We have Essence Carson. You have a really big tradition of women's players from Rutgers going pretty high in the draft. So she would add to that. But the first 2 picks right now, Charlie Collier from Texas and butcher's name, Awak Courier from Finland, from both Dallas. So Dallas right now in the last mock for ESPN, the Dallas Wings are drafting a center and a power forward.
This pretty makes sense why the Liberties made that trade, because they need neither one. They need more guard play.
Well, I feel like too. I think Collier was always projected to be number 1, but it was always a question about whether she was. Like we talk about every draft, whether it be WNBA or NBA, is there consensus number 1? Right? NBA last year, you really didn't have that. It was kind of down to the wire. Would it be, essentially who was going to be number 1? Those 3 players that could have been number 1 last year. This year in WNBA draft, same thing. I think Collier's better than everybody else, but you can make a case for her, Ariella from Rutgers. You can make a case for Ramia Davis from Tennessee. So this is a draft where I think the Liberty kind of traded out because we don't really know. There's really no one that we really want.
Right.
I feel like you have the number 1 pick. This should be someone you want. Like the Jaguars are getting Trevor Lawrence. There's no doubt about that. And I feel like in the WNBA draft, kind of like the NBA draft, and we'll get to that in a second. I don't think there's like a consensus number 1 in either one.
No, it's probably it's a need, just like the women's draft. It'll be a need-based draft.
For the Liberty, who is picking 6, they're projected to pick another Louisville player this year, Dana Evans, a point guard. Which, I mean, using your 6th overall pick for a point guard, you already got one. I don't know about that one. That doesn't make any sense to me. When you have, essentially, you would hope that maybe McDonald falls to them, Davis might fall to them, but you have Sabrina Ionescu who's going to play 90% of the minutes at the point. So why would you spend a top 10 pick on a point guard? I don't understand that.
Yeah, that's probably – I don't see that happening either. That's probably going to change.
For the most part, you look at the NWA draft, the biggest jump was McDonald. I think from Arizona, she definitely got her stock up for that. In the NBA mock draft, right now, they have – I just had it, and it just went away that fast. Here we go. Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State going number 1. Do you agree that he's the best player in the NBA draft right now?
No.
Okay, that was fast. Holy shit. No. Okay. Who is? Okay, let's go. Who is? I want to know this now.
Man. You know what? I don't know who would be a number 1 overall, but I just wouldn't pick him first. I feel like there's a prospect somewhere tucked away overseas that'll probably get more consideration than he would. And it all depends. Who has the worst record in the NBA right now? It's Detroit?
Right now, Minnesota 1, Houston 2, Detroit 3.
Minnesota again?
Yeah, we're gonna get to Minnesota in a second too, because that's a 2K question that we're gonna talk about later on too. Yeah, Minnesota, Cade Cunningham, Houston getting Evan Mobley from USC, Pistons projected to get Jalen Suggs from Gonzaga. That's your top 3.
And I don't even think Suggs is a top 3 pick. I think he's good, but I don't think he's top 3 worthy.
Well, it bugs me out that Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga, who played in that G League Ignite, they're 4th and 5th to Orlando and Cleveland. I would think that those 2 guys would kind of be a little higher up because you've seen them play, and you've seen them play against grown-ass men in the G League. So I feel like if you're going to pick Cade Cunningham, why wouldn't you look at Jalen Green, right? If you're going to pick, Jalen Suggs, why wouldn't you look at Jonathan Kuminga? I don't understand that logic.
See, and I'm kind of with you on that because if we're going to look at it that way, just look at last year. Look at LaMelo. LaMelo, who played overseas, played with grown-ups, we knew his stock should have been higher than what it was, and now you're kind of seeing that. So I think in case in point, where if any draft, especially this year, I'm probably gonna look at the G League first.
So every year we do draft coverage, and we talk about how drafts are sometimes like 5-player drafts, 6-player drafts. This draft right now is the epitome of a 5-player draft. Because once you get past those 5 names I mentioned, it falls off significantly. I see names like Franz Wagner, Davian Mitchell, who is a good point guard, but he's not a top 10 pick. Keon Johnson, who's okay. Cameron Thomas, Isaiah Jackson from Kentucky, Scotty Barnes from. There's no one. This is the epitome of a draft where if you watch the first 5 picks, your night is essentially done. You can go home. So it's gonna be.
I was gonna say it's a good thing we don't have to worry about the Knicks being in it this year.
Right now, they're projected at 10 to pick up Scotty Barnes with that 1 pick, and I think the other pick. I swear they had 2 first rounders. Oh, the other pick will be Ayo Dosunmu from Illinois, another shooting guard. So those picks are going to be kind of pointless, especially that 22 pick, because no one cares about that pick.
Nope.
All right, let's get down to real business now. The Knicks. Straight up, I'm going to ask you flat out, this is the question. Are the Knicks a playoff team right now? Are they not in that? Are they making the playoffs? That's the better question.
Absolutely, they're making the playoffs.
Oh wow, Jalen Green will go number 1 from Urban Fox Gamer. I see. I would like that. That makes more sense, and I think he deserves to be better. I think he's a better player than Cunningham. So if Jalen Green goes first, I would agree with that. But plus, I feel like Jalen Green's game works better with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns if he doesn't get traded. All right, back to the Knicks. Are they making the playoffs? Yes or no?
They're making the playoffs.
Okay. What makes you see that right now? I don't see it.
I think the reason they're losing here down the stretch is they don't have a closer, and they played Boston. Boston has 2 All-Stars. They played the Nets. The Nets are the Nets. They played Philly. They played them tough last week. I just think that they're going to get to the play-in game, and when you scramble them down with the crapshoot at the bottom of the East, the Pacers, the Bulls, I think the Hawks stock's going to come down. I think Charlotte's going to come down. I think the Knicks will have a chance against those teams to get into the play-in game and win those play-in games. Because I think Boston and Miami's going to go up. I think Charlotte is coming down, and they're right in that pack with Charlotte, Indiana, Atlanta.
So right now the Knicks are 8th.
Mm-hmm.
They are 2 games clear of number 9, Indiana. They're a game behind Boston, who they just fell to last night. They're about a game and a half behind Miami for 6. Now you want to get to 6 because you don't want to get 7 through 10 because you don't want to touch the play-in games. So you want to get to 6. They're about a game and a half behind Miami for that 6th spot. I think they're 4-6 in their last 10. The only thing that's been helping is the fact that you have Chicago, Toronto, Cleveland, Washington. They're all 3-7 in their last 10. So essentially, the Knicks have kind of fallen. I mean, they were like 4th or 5th for like a hot minute. But essentially, I feel like 6 through 8 is their spot. They're not going to fall anymore because those teams behind them are terrible. They stink.
Mm-hmm.
But you said it. They don't have a closer. They don't have a point guard. They don't have a good point guard.
Yeah.
Like Emmanuel Quickly, I love him to death. He's in a point. Alfred Payton is Alfred Payton. Like you're going to get what you get from him. You don't have a guy that can bring the ball up who's going to facilitate, slow things down, speed things up, run the tempo. You don't have that on that team right now.
Nope.
Not to mention, and we talked about this a lot, and I know my dad's listening. He's like, back in my day, Julius Randle looks exhausted. He looks like he's done. And I feel like those minutes early, we talked about this when the season started. He's playing 35, 36, 37 minutes a game. Now we're at the point in April. He looks exhausted. He's beat up, and you start to see it. Those legs are gone.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but he's a warrior. He's hanging in there. He's doing what he's gonna do. And down the stretch, he's not the guy I want them to go to because his play is not catered towards that. Like, I would like to see RJ become more aggressive. I would like to see D Rose maybe be the guy that brings up the ball with the last 2 minutes of the game. Because it seemed like that's what it's coming down to. Like, all these losses are coming down to like 1 or 2 possessions where, like you said, if we had a true point guard or a go-to closer, things would be a little different. So, like, the Knicks just got to weather the storm, and the teams coming up, they can beat. I'm saying, I faith in them. They can beat. They can beat and still get in without playing the playing game.
They could, and hopefully, listen. We said 6 is the magic point. You want to get to 6 because you don't want to play in those playing games. You don't want to especially be in like 9 or 10 because then you got to like win 2 games. But right now they're in 8th. God willing, they make it. Last night we also saw the return of Kevin Durant to the lineup. You also didn't see James Harden play. James Harden's out for at least 7 to 10 days. Twofold question. First question. What does Durant coming back mean for Brooklyn going forward?
It means that they're pretty much trying to figure out the rotation now. Now you have Durant in. Now you can figure out how we're gonna attack the rest of the season and pretty much get that rotation ready for the playoffs, which is good. It's a good problem to have, but it's a bad problem for Philly because I think Philly's definitely not gonna get the number 1 seed. I think the Nets are pretty much gonna wrap up the East real soon, and once they set their rotation, then they're gonna be tough to beat, man. I think it's not a good sign. After the way Durant came back in 19 minutes last night, scoring 20 points, 5 for 5 from the field, I think he was ready maybe a month ago to come back. And the way they kind of rested him, like, okay, we're going to be without Harden for a couple of days. Durant, you want to come in there right now? Plug and play. The Nets are pretty much a plug and play team right now.
So here's my question, because now Harden's out. So now you don't have those 3. They've only played a few games together. And not my question, because this is what you hear. I feel like maybe it's just like people wanting to find something wrong with the Nets. Is this going to be a problem where, okay, Durant comes back, now Harden goes out. Okay, Harden might come back, now Kyrie might go out. And then could this be an issue down the line where if you're not going to get these 3 playing together, and this is the 3, like we talk about LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh, we talk about Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, right? This is the 3. But if you don't get them on the court together, can that be a detriment? You talked about rotations. Eventually, you get them all together at the same time, playing at the same, like, no matter, like, you have to get some consistency.
I would say normally in a normal season, it would be a problem. But because of the condensed seasoning and just the way that the Nets are pretty much, they're such a deep team that, and their positions they play, it's easy for them to get chemistry just like that. So I think come playoff time, they'll play around, especially the first opponent they have in the first round. They're going to play around with their food, probably be a 5-game series. And once they get to the second round against a better opponent, it's going to be clicking on all cylinders. So they can play around with this whole having some guys rest here and there, but come end of April, early May, they'll be clicking on all cylinders.
So I'm curious to see, because I think Brian Windhorst made a point today. He said Durant will adjust to anybody.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Kyrie has told James Harden, this is your team, you're the point. I'm going to play off the ball. It's your squad. Which, coming from Kyrie, I'm like, all right. Windhorst seems to believe that Kyrie is going to go off the deep end and not keep his word and going to start jocking. I don't see it happening. Do you? I really feel like Kyrie's legit.
I think he's legit. He wants that ring without LeBron. I think he sees the championship light at the end of the tunnel. So I think Kyrie's buying all in. I think everyone's buying in, and they see Aldridge play good, to see Blake playing good, and they're buying in. This is scary, man. It's a scary team.
So Joe Keating's listening. Joe, Blake Griffin is not back. So stop saying that. You're spreading lies and spreading propaganda. He is not back. Blake Griffin's he's what he is. So he's not Clipper Blake Griffin. Let me get that out there right now. NBA.com had a good article about the Grizzlies and the Hawks. Hawks playing really well in Nate McMillan. Memphis, 8 wins in their last 11 games. If you had to buy stock in one of those teams, which one would you buy stock on? Joe Keating, proof is on the floor, bruh. That's his response to that statement. If you had to buy stock in the Grizzlies or the Hawks, which would you buy?
I would buy the Hawk stock only because Nate McMillan, he was just doing this in Indiana. He shouldn't have gotten fired from Indiana. And we kind of thought that the Hawks would have been where they are right now. At the beginning of the season, it took a while to get there, but now Nate's got them there. And the West is just so tough, and I appreciate what the Grizzlies are doing. But we know Jay Morant he's a beast, so we expected them to be where they're at. I'm definitely going to say keep your eyes on the Hawk stocks. I think they're going to be in the topper Eastern Conference next year. I think this is play time for them as well. So I think next year you want to look at them as the top 4 team in the East. Because
Doghouse.
You know what team I don't like. I got to say it every show.
Milwaukee. I'm with you, Milwaukee now. I'm starting to come on your side because I don't see it. They just signed Drew Holiday to a big extension. I don't see it at all. I don't get it. Doghouse checking in. Doghouse listening. Thanks for listening. What's going on? I want to get to this 2K question because trade deadline rosters came out. Shout out to Celtic LG on operationsports.com. He does all the roster updates because 2K has a tendency to overvalue players, so he fixes them. So Celtic LG, shout out. And I had a thought who do I pick for these games? Because for franchise modes, it's easy to pick the Giants or the Knicks or the Rangers or your favorite teams. Or it's easy to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Yankees or someone really good. The idea of picking a team to rebuild in a sports game, I feel like not a lot of people like it, or if they do, they cheat and make these trades that the community's like, okay, and they make the trade. Based on the rosters, how they are right now, with the moves like Drummond, with the moves like Aldridge, and see what Houston did to kind of blow the team up. In NBA 2K21, what is a team you would pick to rebuild right now, knowing that, all right, this is going to take a few seasons in this game to figure this out?
That's a good question.
Because I picked one yesterday, and I played the first game with them. And I knew after about 12 minutes of play, I made the right choice.
You know what? You intrigued me with this question. I'm going to try this at some point this weekend. Even though it's WrestleMania weekend, I'm going to try it. I'm going to say New Orleans. I'm going to say the Pelicans.
Come on. You got Zion.
And I would trade him because I don't expect him to be there. I don't expect Zion to be there. And I feel like I could demand a king's ransom for Zion. And I would build around Ball, and I'll keep Ball. I'll keep Lonzo. But
wait. So okay, hold on. Okay, I know this is virtual. You would trade Zion,
get a king's ransom from him,
and build around Lonzo Ball.
Yep.
Wow. That's okay. Okay.
I would get a lot of assets. I would get any All-Star I wanted outside LeBron James and Anthony Davis for Lonzo.
Wow, I would not think to do that at all. Well, the team I picked last night was Minnesota. I was stuck between Charlotte, Minnesota, and there was another team.
Charlotte's a good choice too. Charlotte's
in the shit. They're awful. I picked Minnesota because you have Karl Anthony Towns, which like you said, you could probably move him. Mm-hmm. You got D'Angelo Russell. Ricky Rubio's making a lot of money. And then after that, there's kind of a drop off. Oh, Sacramento's 13. Thanks, Joe. Because I asked Joe last night. Sacramento's 13. But Sacramento's in the running, but also they got a lot of good players. They got some good assets.
They got good parts.
And they almost made the playoffs last year. So I was like, nah, I can't do that. There's a huge drop off from Karl Anthony Towns, Russell, Rubio, and I'll put Malik Beasley in there. There's no one else on that team. And I was like, you know what? This might take, and I don't play every single game, obviously, but I'm like, this might take a minute. And then, of course, as soon as they're playing, you get the owner command, like what you got to do. And he's like, we need some cap space. We want at least $25 million of cap space. And now look, and there's $6 million over. I'm like, what? What the hell?
How'd I happen?
Like, all right. Like, So I got to make cap space out of nothing, essentially. Okay, cool. But yeah, I got Minnesota, and I played last night, and I was like, this team's awful. I made the right choice.
And think with Minnesota, how much you can get if you traded Towns or Russell and kept the rookie.
Yeah. I mean, well, Anthony Edwards is there too. I don't put him up there with those other three guys. Like Ricky Rubio has some value. I think and Edwards has some game. I haven't had him touch the ball a lot last night. I ran the offense like legitimately through Karl-Anthony Towns, and that was it. And I had Russell just shooting threes and missing because apparently he can't hit threes wide open or covered, whatever. But that's my squad. I'll keep you posted on what I do. That New Orleans thing, I'm in utter shock and
Ingram, and you would get a lot for both of those guys. Zion and Ingram, I'm getting whatever I want, pretty much, outside of LeBron and AD.
See, and I'm used to people doing the opposite. Like, I'm just going to trade Lonzo for Dame Lillard. And the game just, no, the game's like, you stupid. No. And it counterbound.
Perfect example, Dame Lillard. You think if I don't hit Portland and I have Zion and I want Dame and McCollum and I give them Zion and Ingram straight up, you think the computer's going to override that? Probably not. It's probably going to throw in a pick for me just for making that trade.
Well, yeah, here's the thing now, and this is what I do. I kind of adjusted a little bit, and I made the trade difficulty a little higher.
Okay.
To make it a little more realistic. So I'm like, I don't want to make all the trades like just be kind of easy. So I'm kind of bumping up a couple levels to make it more difficult. So they for that trade, for example, I think in the way I have it set up, they would probably ask you for a first round pick in addition for Zion and Ingram. Which would you make that trade in the game?
I would make the trade.
Okay.
Because then I'm going to have a discussion. Then I'm going to have to think about what I'm going to do with Lonzo. I might move him now.
The worst part of that game, I don't know if you do it this way with the conversations, like the chit chat that you have, like the cook. It's like the dumbest shit. It's like, I got my car wash yesterday. What'd you get car wash? I got it down the street. Oh, really? I go there too. Okay, cool. And then trust goes up. Like, a car wash conversation? Like, is this real life? Is this how it works?
This is how it goes down. Hey, where you get your car wash is important.
Like Scott Perry's going to players like, yo, so where's that masseuse at? Like, wait, where do you go get your massages? Like, okay, that's cool. The other thing I want to talk about tonight is this clickbait that ESPN put out, the top 25 best players under 25, which is essentially it's clickbait. Stephen A even shit on it, and he kind of apologized for it. But ESPN and their experts, quote unquote, put together a list of the best players under 25 years old in the NBA. Now, I think 1 and 2, they can be a conversation, and we'll have that conversation right now.
Okay.
ESPN is Luka Doncic 1, Zion number 2. In my head, the only reason I think they put Luka first is because we've seen Luka more. Zion was out most of the year last year. He didn't play the beginning. He played at the end. He played a little bit in the bubble. So I think Luka got the edge over him because of him playing as much. Do you think that's the case? And if so, and if you threw that out, would Luka still be number 1?
I think Luka would be number 1 because the league and everyone just loves the point guard. It's always been a point guard driven league. And I think because of that, that's why Luka will be number 1. He came in with a ball of fire. He's still playing great. He's the future of the league. He's gonna when LeBron finally bows out, I think Luka's gonna run the league.
So we got Luka number 1, Zion number 2. 3 is LaMelo Ball.
Wow, too soon.
Yeah. So here's I'm going to give you the top 10 just to give you an idea. Luka, Zion, LaMelo's number 3, Donovan Mitchell number 4, Jason Tatum 5, De'Aaron Fox 6, Ben Simmons 7, Devin Booker 8, Bam Adebayo 9, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 10. But then 2, Jaylen Brown, 12, Jamal Murray, 13, John Morant, 15, Trae Young, 16, DeAndre Ayton's 20, I get that. Jared Allen, 23, who I'll move up in a heartbeat. Lonzo's 24.
Wow. That sucks.
And Colin Sexton's 25. So how do you feel about LaMelo Ball pretty much beating out Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Ben Simmons, Bam Adebayo, everybody.
That's just insane. That's who wrote this? LeVar?
Yes, LeVar put Luka first.
Just to be fair, he put Luka first. He put one Sun 3 and the other one in the bottom 20s.
Well, and like they got Bobby Marks, Kevin Pelton, and Mike Smits from ESPN. Mike Smits, for the lack of a better term, was just dick riding Lonzo LaMelo all year last year when he was playing overseas. So automatically, his opinion doesn't mean anything to me because he was pretty much going overseas every other week to cover LaMelo.
Okay.
So I don't take him into account. Bobby Marks actually worked in front offices in the NBA.
Yeah, I remember that.
For him to go, okay, and this is not what it means, but this is what I'm taking it as. Okay, if I need a young player on the team, the best young player to take right now is LaMelo Ball over Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, Jalen. Like, that's the idea. So what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I'm not putting them. I would have probably put him in maybe top 15, 16 round. I wouldn't have put him in number 3. No way. Poor Donovan. He can't even get respect here.
Well, recency. Someone said in the chat, recency bias. Which is that a thing? Maybe is it a lot of these West? I mean, Boston's on the West Coast, but you have Utah, De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in OKC, Brandon Ingram in New Orleans. Is some of these players who are on the West Coast kind of not getting the respect that they should be getting?
I think so. As always, how is Devin Booker? People forgot how great he is of a shooter he is. Even with Chris Paul being on his team now, people are forgetting how great Devin Booker is. So that's a bad spot for him at number 8. I would definitely say Fox is also who I would pick Fox right now over a Ball right now.
Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat. Well, he said recency bias. Recency. I say recency bias. I'll say recency because everyone's like, oh my God, this LaMelo looks amazing. But De'Aaron Fox, I mean, if I start a team right now of these 25 guys, my top 3 would be Luka, De'Aaron Fox, Jason Tatum.
Yep.
And then I would have a serious thought about Ben Simmons and then Devin Booker. Ben Simmons, I would have to have a conversation about Ben Simmons and okay, this is what he can do. This is what he can't do. Is it worth what he can do? And can we kind of forget about what he can't do? I think that's how you have to kind of look at Ben Simmons, correct?
That's a fair assessment.
But this whole, like you said, this is clickbait. Like, how is LaMelo Ball 3? Donovan Mitchell, literally, like 40% 3-point shooter this year. Like he arguably is the top 5 player in the West right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't get above LaMelo Ball, who's a rookie who's on a really shitty team, who's not even playing right now. It kills me right now. I want to talk about Shaq for a second. Shaq. So you and I, we've been engagement ring shopping in our lives, and we understand how much engagement rings do cost. Shaq was in a jewelry store and just so happened to buy someone's engagement ring for them. Dude was in the jewelry store buying engagement ring. Shaq saw what was going on. Shaq went behind the counter and gave the salesman his credit card, which was a black card. So I'm like, oh shit. He brought out the black card and said, I got this, big fella. I got this. And I'm like, did he just buy what? Oh my God. I'm like, why couldn't that happen to us? Like, why couldn't that occur when we were buying our engagement rings for our girls?
Good point. Very good, valid point.
Like, I brought mine to Rockland County, so I know it ain't no celebrities hanging out in Rockland County, New York. But can I get like can I get like Keith Fernandez or something to come in and put that card? Like, it's first of all, how cool is Shaq to do that? That's first of all. and secondly, what? Like, what? If you had the money, would you do that?
If I had the money, I would.
Really?
Because Shaq has that kind of money. Shaq has that long, well that
If you had Shaq money,
yeah, if I had Shaq
would
money,
you do that?
I would.
Oh, I would not do that.
But someone
Forget
I know,
that.
somebody I knew.
That's okay. Someone you know,
Yeah.
not a total stranger.
Oh no, I know.
A total stranger. Shaq's like, I got this. I'm like, and put the black down. I'm like, wow. And the salesman's just talking to him, like, hey, I always miss you when I work. And I'm like, did we just miss the point that Shaq just put his black card down to buy this dude? He's like, hey, congratulations, man. I'm like, wow, okay. It must be nice. It really must be nice.
Considering Shaq is a product, his first marriage failed, he was still willing to do that. That says a lot too.
Listen, his first marriage failed because his wife is hot garbage.
Yes.
I can't stand any of them. Not a one of them. And I used to love, what's the girl's name? What's my grandma? Evelyn. That was my girl for a hot minute. And that's the only one I really like. I like her and Williams, last name Williams. I can't remember her first name.
Okay.
I like those two. But besides that, the rest of them, like, I hate all of them. I can't stand them. All right. We're going to end the show. WrestleMania this weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in and out. I did watch the Go Home show on Raw on Monday.
It was terrible.
Oh, my God. It was so bad. Like, if this is really on pay-per-view and they didn't have the network, I'm pretty sure they would have lost 100,000 buys. It was that. It was like it did not get me hyped for anything happened this weekend. Not one thing. Is there a match you're looking forward to at all on the Raw side?
I'm looking forward. Well, you know what? I'm more so looking forward to. Well, I think they announced Sasha and Bianca's going to close out Saturday, which is the right move. So I'm looking forward to that match.
But here's my issue. Here's my issue with that. I know we have SmackDown. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. That build's been bad.
Oh, what you heard about? You didn't know about SmackDown tomorrow? SmackDown's a WrestleMania theme, so they're going to have like pretty much the matches that would probably be on the pre-show. It's happening tomorrow. That's how they're doing it. They're going to have like the tag team titles going to be defended, which is kind of odd because you have a SmackDown on Friday puts you in a bad spot because NXT's tonight. Hall of Fame happened already. So instead of like, you still having a show tomorrow and then you're going right into Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's fine.
I mean, if those are the matches for tomorrow, the ratings will be shit tomorrow because everyone's like, oh, I'm not. If that's the pre-show matches, people don't watch the pre-show to begin with.
Right.
So I think their ratings going to look like garbage on Saturday, Monday when the ratings come out.
Actually, no. You know what's tomorrow? The Andre Memorial Battle Royal is tomorrow. That's tomorrow.
Great.
So there you go. Feel free to miss it if you want.
Great. I will slam my penis in the door. The Sasha Bianca build's been really bad because they've done a tag team formula. The two contenders going to wrestle, and then they got Reginald. I'm like, who the fuck is Reginald? Where did he come from? I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. Like this could have been the coolest match if they hyped it correctly. And they've only botched it completely to the point where I'm like, I kind of don't care now.
And you know what sucks too? Because like you said, they really did a terrible job all around building up the build. This is the first WrestleMania, God knows, maybe since like the teens, where there's no part-timers, unless you count Edge. Edge is the only part-timer on the card.
And he's been there every single week.
He's not really part-timer, so
yeah, he's been there.
You're supposed to build your guys up and have them be the showcase. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm interested. NXT. I didn't watch NXT last night because I was watching obviously AEW because that's my heart.
Tonight,
I'll watch tonight.
On Peacock.
Great. My only issue with NXT last night, I saw the results. That MSK group, is too quick. I feel like they run the Dusty tournament and they got the titles. And I feel like obviously the other team got hurt, so obviously they got the belts a lot earlier than they probably should have. But way too soon for them. I think they kind of hot shot at that. Other than that Walter Ciampa match, I saw Walter's chest at the end, and I'm like, I gotta watch this match now. I don't know what the hell happened, but that looked like a war. I got to watch that match.
Yeah, that was a great match. Walter's a beast. I'm glad he's back in the States. A good friend of mine's pretty much told me that he thinks that they pretty much gave them the belt so quickly is because grizzled young vets are probably going to move up to Raw, and I'm pretty sure this girl is going to get moved to SmackDown after Mania.
Who?
What's the name? Who just lost the title?
Io?
Yeah, I think she's going to SmackDown.
Oh God, her career's over now. Too bad. Rest in peace, Io Shirai's career. Rest in peace. Poor one out. So yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna shit on it on Twitter probably and find something wrong with it and whatever. Shane McMahon jump off a cage or do something stupid and whatever. I'm just over it right now. Quick update on what's going on right now in the basketball world. Chicago up 75-57 on Toronto there in the third quarter. At the half, 56-54, Lakers on top of Miami. Cleveland up on OKC by 3 there in the second quarter. At 9, when we go off the air, Milwaukee faces Dallas. Portland, Utah at 10. Phoenix Clippers at 10. And also at 10, you have the Kings hosting the Pistons. The Lakers who keep winning because they're playing shitty teams. And everyone's like, oh, the Lakers can hold it together. And I'm like, they're not playing anybody. So let's keep that real right now. They're not beating nobody. Last question of the day. And that kind of goes with the Lakers. Actually, it kind of goes with the Lakers. There's a documentary coming on NBA TV about the 1996 draft.
I think I saw the preview for that.
So here's my question, and I looked at the draft today because I forgot who was actually in it. I know the Kobe part of it because Kobe refused to go to the Nets, right. So I know that part of the story. They're calling this draft one of the most influential drafts in the modern era. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with it because I want to say the last one had to be LeBron. LeBron, D Wade, Melo, Bosh. That might have been the last most intriguing draft.
Well, here's the players that got drafted. Now, obviously, Kobe should have went to the Nets. I still hold a grudge against that. Iverson, Camby. This is the order: Iverson, Camby, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Marbury, Allen, Antoine Walker. It gets a little sketchy here. Lorenzen Wright, Kerry Kittle, Samaki Walker, Eric Dampier, Todd Fuller, Vitaly Potemko.
I remember him.
And then you have Kobe 13, Peja Stojakovic at 14, Steve Nash at 15, Jermaine O'Neal at 17, Zdrunas Ilgauskas at 20. I think that's when it goes to hell.
All right. I'll say that draft was pretty deep between 1 to 18.
Well, because you have Iverson.
Mm-hmm.
You got Ray Allen. You got Marbury, right? Kobe, obviously. I think Peja was like that second coming of Drazen Petrovic.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Nash, who we didn't know Steve Nash was going to be Steve Nash.
Right.
But then you look at Jermaine O'Neal, had a pretty good career.
Had a good career.
Antoine Walker, his bankrupt ass, had a really good career.
Good career.
Sharif Abdul-Rahim had a good couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's as influential. I think if you look at Iverson, you look at Kobe, you look at Marbury, you look at Ray Allen, yes. But I'm sorry, Eric Dampier and Samaki Walker ain't doing it for me right now.
They ain't doing it. But they had decent careers. So longevity-wise, that might have been a good draft. That might have been a good draft class.
Derek Fisher.
Everybody probably averaged at least 10 years in the league. And that's rare nowadays.
Derek Fisher was 24.
That was a good draft class.
Moochie Norris, 33.
Never heard that name in a long time.
I know. I'm like, Moochie. Oh, I remember Moochie. Jeff McGinnis from North Carolina came at 37. Randy Livingston, 42. This is not a great draft. I'm assuming this documentary is going to talk about Iverson, Kobe, and Ray Allen. That's about it. There's really no one else to talk about. So.
I wish they would have. You know what? Speaking of, I wish they would have done. Well, maybe they have, but that Big East tournament with Iverson and Ray Allen, that was one of the better ones.
Was that the one where Allen hit the floater?
Yeah,
in the lane. Okay, that was really good. I remember that. Well, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, I loved him, but I think one, he played in Vancouver.
Yeah,
and two, he just got hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
After that first year, it was like, oh, he's a superstar. He started getting hurt every single year repeatedly. So his career was kind of shot too. And Antoine Walker, he got drafted to Boston with Pitino coaching and being president. So that he was destined to fail at that point. Jason, as always, good show, bro.
Likewise.
So for those of you watching, thank you so much for watching us. All you in the chat for participating, let us know you're here. Podcast will be up on Spotify and iTunes tomorrow. Also check the Just Hoop Talk podcast as well. We're going to start putting it on there as well. So we're going to hit you twice. But we'll be back next Thursday. WNBA draft next Thursday night. We'll be on live telling you about the players. I'm doing some research on some of these players because some of them I don't know. I'm not going to lie to you because if you play at Wichita State, don't really know who you are, men or women. Don't really care.
Our first video draft is pretty fun.
I know it's gonna be fun. I was watching the TV. It's like, no, why did Liberty get a point guard again? That'd be us screaming. Those of you who don't know what we do on draft nights, we just yell and scream essentially for 2 hours. Well, it'll be an hour next week. All right. So for Jason, I'm Kahlil. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next Thursday night, 8 p.m. here on the Just Hoop Talk YouTube channel. Peace.
Peace.